Okay, if everyone's popped their name into the chat, I suggest we get going. So just for everyone's benefit, this is being recorded for the benefit of other Gender Network members. So for those of you I haven't met before, my name is Vanessa Banley and I'm co-chair of Gender Networks. You're obviously joining us because you're all members of our wonderful community. So this is just kind of an additional bonus session to get you thinking around some ideas for International Men's Day, but also to think about International Women's Day as well. So before I kick off and share my slides, I'd like my co-chair Birgit to introduce herself. So Birgit, over to you.
Hi there, all. I think I've met some of you, but not all of you. So fantastic to be here. My name is Birgit New. I have recently rejoined Vanessa as co-chair of Gender Networks, and really excited to be engaging with all of you, and particularly on this topic, talking about some of the key events in the gender space moving forward.
Fantastic. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to share my screen. Just bear with me a second. Hopefully you can all see that. If someone can give me a nod. Wonderful. So we're going to kick off with a little bit about International Men's Day, because obviously that's coming fast approaching. So Tuesday the 19th of November, there's I mean, sometimes they have themes. I haven't actually seen a theme as such from this year, but it tends to focus around positive difference, wellbeing lives of men and boys. So this is the actual resource centre where you can find out everything. There's the website down there. And I think a bit like the IWD site, there are different resources that you can do as well, that you can obviously leverage as well. I'm just interested to know if any of you are already starting to work on International Men's Day activities, what it is that you're planning. If you can put that in the chat, that would be amazing, because then that gives everyone some ideas and some best practice or some ideas they can leverage above what Birgit and I will cover on the call. So Birgit, do you want to talk through some of the ideas that we had?
Yeah, and in full confession, I'm going to say these are actually some of the ideas that are on the website as well. So if you want more detail around this, but we just wanted to highlight some of the suggestions that they're making. Again, there is an employer's guide that's available on that website, super helpful with lots of detail in there as well. So some of the suggestions are around things like the very high male suicide rate, some of the challenges that men and boys are facing around attainment. So that's things like retraining, stress, dealing with things like redundancy and employment, men's health, which I think is a sort of familiar area that many of you will have covered around IMD before. Also looking at some of the challenges faced by some of the most marginalized men in society, male victims of violence, male survivors as well. Again, lots of you, I think, see something there talking about the challenges faced by men as parents. And obviously there's lots of discussion going on social media around that particular topic right now too. Final one here on this slide is around the negative portrayal of men, boys, and fathers. We continue to see kind of various stereotypical portrayals of men in media, in advertising. So, you know, there's an interesting angle there that you can take to think about what this means for your marketing and advertising activities within your own organization and more broadly as well. So again, lots of ideas here, lots more ideas in their employer's guide on the website to take a look at if you need some more suggestions.
So in terms of resources that, you know, people that we've worked with in the past and some things that you might want to think about, I mean, all of those kind of topics on there, they're fairly hard-hitting topics, but, you know, some people choose to do things around kind of fatherhood, you know, and look at kind of different aspects of addressing men and some of the kind of issues that they face that are not kind of, as I say, some of the ones that we looked at. So just a couple of speakers that we would recommend that we've worked with. So there's a wonderful gentleman by the name of Lee Chambers that some of you would have come across. He is very vocal on LinkedIn and he posts some really, really good stuff. But last Friday at our Women in Tech Week, he launched Male Allies, which will be a series of kind of programs. I think he's writing a book as well, but he's a fantastic speaker. So he would well be worth getting in contact with. You've also got people like Daniele Fanduca, who we've had on Gender Networks for a number of different occasions, and he runs Token Man. Daniele's been around for about 15 years talking about this topic. So Daniele does a number of different things. He also does lots of different research. So I think he's got a piece of research running at the moment I'll check in on, if so, we'll send you the link. So there may be something he's planning for IWD, for IMD, around what that research is showing. And then you've got the wonderful Elliot Ray, who runs Music Football Fatherhood, but is also the author of Dads, and recently Parenting Out Loud, which is a big campaign aimed at fatherhood. So we've put some books in here, because some of you may, who are just starting out, may not wish to kind of go with some of those bigger topics. You may just want to kind of gather men, and it could be the focus around a book. And again, some of these authors we know. So if you wanted to do a focus around a particular book, the highlights of that book, what it was saying, some of the stats, we could connect you to some of these, mostly all of them. I think it's only the Good Guys one that we wouldn't know, big it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Other organisations, I mean, you can do your homework. There are some absolutely incredible organisations out there that focus on men as allies, on supporting men. And again, we know quite a few of these, so we could definitely connect you. We've done stuff, if anyone's interested, I think it's on my profile. I did a LinkedIn Live with Andy's Man Club. They're an absolutely incredible organisation talking about men's mental health. So Big, do you want to talk about some of the others, if you've had touch bases with them?
Yeah, no, I think I would just highlight that. So the Men and Boys Coalition is the organization that's behind that IMD website. On their site, you'll see the link there on the bottom. They have a whole list of all the sort of the umbrella organization that sit on top of lots and lots of different charities. So again, we've highlighted a couple of them here. There's a much longer list there if you want to have a look through there and see, again, organizations that might be relevant, sort of geographically, if you're doing events across different parts of the UK or just for particular topic areas. But yeah, no shortage of organizations, charities that you might want to partner with there, depending on what it is that you think you want to speak about as part of your events.
Yeah, and the one that's not on there, I mean, I used to sit on their board, is Prostate UK. If you want to go up the men's kind of health route. We did an event a couple of years ago back with Barclays for IMD, as a partnership with Daniele Fandeco, and we had a panel of senior men all talking about their mental health, and it was absolutely the most powerful session that we've ever done. So again, just another idea of something that you could do for your International Men's Day. I just want to stop sharing my screen. I just want to pop to the chat quickly just to see if what comments that you've put in there around some of the things that you're looking at. So if we just want to quickly go through some of these, we can see them in the chat. So panel discussion with partners around the theme of positive role models, webinars, mental health awareness, Andy's Man Club, obviously, say super organisation, men's health offering, grooming offerings, not just male. Okay, that's good. Webinar on shared parental leave and men being positive male role models. That's great. Podcast with men across the business on their experience of being open around their well-being. That's a good one. So there's some great stuff in here. Big, anything you've seen outside of kind of what we've put together that's worked well in the past?
I think it's, again, just being, creative also when you think around the formats. I love the idea of grooming, like it doesn't always necessarily need to just be a panel or just be a speaker. Yep. And even Vanessa's part of your Women in Tech Week things last week. We saw some really interesting things, people going for a swim. So, you might also want to just think outside the box in terms of what the event format is, just to make sure that's as engaging as possible. Because we know, it's such an area that our networks are continuing to find challenging, is engaging men around this topic. So anything that we can do to get more people there is great.
Yeah. So there's some other stuff on here. Sharing stories on care relief. Absolutely. Oh, brilliant. Lee's already a keynote speaker, and yes, you will get a copy of the slides. And yes, White Ribbon is absolutely incredible. So lots of different ideas for you there. But as I say, you can, in previous years, there was always a bit of a backlash about International Men's Day. But I think we've kind of seen that not disappear as such, but, I think there's a much more positive outlook on why, we deserve to address some of the challenges that men face. And on the flip side, you could always kind of, talk about gender equity with men for International Men's Day as well. So, we could revert back to that one. So I'm going to just reshare my slides. Bear with me a sec. As we talk about International Women's Day. So obviously March the 8th actually falls on a Sunday this year. Saturday, sorry, my apologies, Saturday. So at the weekend, so I expect it to be the week before that's fairly busy. So we have yet another post, which I'll come on to in a minute. Accelerate action being the theme. So you can see it, as it says on the slide, a kind of call to action around strategies, resources and activity that positively impact women's advancement. It's slightly more concrete than last year's theme, which didn't go down too well. And that's kind of the reason why we talked about poses a little bit. There was quite a few networks that chose not to follow the IWD theme. You have to bear in mind this is a third-party organisation that started setting this theme probably 15 years ago and have continued to set it. So, and what we've seen over the years, especially with Gender Networks members, is that they've adopted their own theme. They haven't always gone with this. And I think as the themes have progressed, the poses have got a little bit cheesy in places. I think that was the general consensus. But what was coming out really strongly last year was we have kind of bigger fish to fry than, than just doing these poses. And I mean, Birgit alluded to the fact that, sometimes if you've got like a call center in another country, this may be great to have the poses in terms of solidarity for the movement. But I think, over here, it didn't seem to go down too well. Interested in your thoughts about that. So maybe pop into the chat group whether or not you used the theme in the past and whether or not you're planning to use this theme this year and what that actually means to you. So there is a second theme that comes out, which is the one that people tended to go with last year, and it was around kind of digital skills like technology and things like that to eradicate to educate women and girls and eradicate them out of poverty and economic empowerment. But this year they haven't set the theme. They tend to do it quite late. So I would definitely keep your eye on that. And we will, as Gender Networks, obviously let you know the moment we have our Google alert for what that is. So don't worry if you miss it. We will be right there to send it on to you. So Birgit, do you want to take from here?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we just wanted to provide you with a little bit of a planning checklist. We know that everybody's busy doing many things at the same time. So just some gentle reminders about things to think about as you're heading into planning for these kind of big events. So first of all, again, thinking about IWD in particular, given that there's still plenty of time between now and March. So things to think about, again, lessons learned, remind yourselves of what happened last year, what worked well in the past, what hasn't. Are there any kind of must-dos as we think about going into IWD 2025? Again, do you always follow a particular theme? Do you have timing considerations that you need to be factoring in for this, especially given that it's going to be on a Saturday this year? Gender changes. So, one of the questions that always gets asked around International Women's Day in particular is what are the numbers looking like? So always good to refresh yourselves on what kind of progress there has been around any particular gender commitments, again, either from the network itself or what's going on in the business. Who else do you need? Again, just to make sure everybody's got plenty of time in terms of what they need to do to support the activity around IWD. So, what is your sponsor doing, your chairs, your committee members? Where is HR, D&I in this? Anybody else that you might need, communications, facilities, give everybody kind of early enough warning on what you need to think about, and particularly if you're working across geographies, different countries around the globe. Now is definitely a good time to start thinking about getting a sort of planning calendars in order. And also, are there any other inputs that you need? Is there, do you want to go out to your network members to ask them what they want to talk about? Do you want to talk to some of your other networks in your organization to get a more intersectional lens on what you're going to do around International Women's Day? Or again, do you want some of the business involved? So do you need to get some of those business leaders on board now to make sure that you have the appropriate stakeholder engagement?
And just before we change on to the next slide, I just want to add on that, how we progress on our gender commitments. I think it's really important to acknowledge that, people watch this stuff. You've got the pay gap bot that comes out every single year, and when companies make a big kind of hoo-ha around what they're doing around IWD, that pay gap bot comes back with your pay gap. It happens every single year. So it's always good to kind of, be mindful around those gender commitments and kind of what you're putting out there, as I say, because people will come back on that. And to have a low pay gap, it's, most companies have made a bit of progress there, but not all. But as long as you're working on it, then, nothing to hide. So back to you.
Yeah, and the second thing here that we really wanted to talk about is how do you differentiate this event, right? One of the things, again, that we saw from the Gender Network survey that we did is that, networks across the board really struggling with engagement. And we know that one of the things that will help around that is to ensure that what we're doing is as relevant as possible to what's going on in our particular business. And also, like, how do we design something for International Women's Day that really is unique to your own organization? So it's not just a generic, anybody could have done this IWD event or activity or whatever it is that you choose to do, but why is it relevant for this organization at this point in time? So can you link what you're going to do to your organization's business priorities? How does this fit with your brand, the things that your organization is known for, your footprint, again, if you're looking geographically? What else is going on in terms of like the campaigns or the marketing activity within the business that you might be able to connect to? Also, more importantly, there's more and more focus on the value chains in our organization. And so how do we connect this up with what's going on with whether it's clients or suppliers, other partners, industry organizations? There's so many different groups that you could be partnering with around this that can really make a difference. And again, make the whatever you do for IWD uniquely yours. And last, but of course not least, how does this tie into what your company's stated ESG or broader sustainability goals are looking like there as well? So, definite things to think about. How does this look like your organization's unique event? And then here we also just want to talk about just sort of moments of reflection, right? So what is the change that we actually want IWD 2025 to deliver? I know there saw some comments too around action, right? We want this not to be another, nice to have event or a thing that people go to and they feel good about and then they leave and nothing changes. What can we do around this that's going to shift to driving specific action and, really importantly, impact? And when we think about impact, also, the other thing that we need to think about is, again, we're networks. So networks can do different things than maybe HR or other parts of the business do. We don't hire people as networks. So what's within our control to do as a network or things that we could be delivering with other internal partners? And also, can we do something that integrates with other planned activity in the organization, or maybe something that has a longer term impact beyond the 8th of March? So that's, is there skills training? Is there something else launching in the organization that we can use IWD to kind of give it some extra oomph and make sure that we've got a really strong gender lens on critical activity for the business? As I mentioned earlier, again, formats, right? Do we just want panels or presentations, or do we want something where people are going to be talked with rather than talked at? How do we get creative? Do we want to get comms and marketing involved, maybe for some more innovative ideas around what else we could do that would look really different, fun, engaging this year? And then again, what other partners do we need if we're going to be bringing in other groups for IWD activation? Again, do we need to have conversations with the business or other people to make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row to make those kind of partnership activities happen? And last but not least, on the next slide, Vanessa, would just be, again, just some of the watch outs, right? And things that we need to challenge ourselves on before somebody else does it for us. So, keep in mind, again, are you taking an intersectional representative approach to including women from different backgrounds? And again, not just one or two backgrounds, but think across the broad spectrum of diversity in terms of that intersectionality. Are we paying speakers, vendors fairly? We're not asking people to do things for free just for exposure. Hopefully we've moved on from that. Just that sense check around, does what we're doing look like it's performative? Or are we going to get accused of just doing, PR, or is this really going to have an impact? And also, are there any credibility considerations? Again, particularly if you've made commitments in the past, are there going to be challenges because it doesn't look like we've delivered on what we said in the past? How are we going to manage that? Again, do we need to have leadership, HR, comms, et cetera, involved if there are any key challenges in that area? So always important to sort of tackle those things early, to have a think about how you're going to manage that.
So just two things I kind of want to add on that. I'm a great believer that we should use these events to kind of collect some sort of data and make them interactive. And that's a way of making International Women's Day live on. You know, if you ask a series of questions or you have a series of table topics that your audience are brainstorming, you're collecting all of those ideas and all of that data, rolling that up as a follow-up article, maybe spinning off some different groups. And also it could help potentially shape the rest of your agenda throughout the year. So I'm a big believer in, you know, don't just sit and let people listen. It's great to get a keynote speaker in, but having people have a chance to actually contribute and say, look, here's some of the things we could do to enhance the longevity of IWD. And I just want to pick up on Birgit's point around, are we paying speaker and vendors fairly? This comes up on, and I see it on my LinkedIn, virtually every single year, you know, speakers, and I get it as well, you know, being asked to speak for free. And it kind of smacks in the face of what we're trying to achieve, you know, these for speakers. And if they're outside of corporate, this is how they kind of put food on the table. So asking them to speak for free is not really treating them fairly. So just making sure that you've got adequate budget to kind of pay people. And a way kind of you can semi get around that, and perhaps not as expensive, is by partnering with some of the charities. But even there, it would be fair to give a donation to the charity if they're giving time to kind of come and be part of your event. So I think, you know, we can't do anything about money. So it's good to have that conversation sooner rather than later. And I believe it's budget season at the moment, so probably an ideal time to be having that conversation. You know, I say I've seen people move away from the things, and last year just rolling up kind of what my LinkedIn feed looked like, you know, and back to my point earlier on about we have bigger fish to fry. There is so much going on in society for women at the moment, so you could choose a lot of these different things. It's not been a good year for women whatsoever in terms of violence against women and girls, so you could have a focus there, and again partnering with some of the charities, you know, Refuge kind of being one of them. Women's health, again, a number of different charities there that you could part with, the Eve Appeal, Wellbeing of Women, things around poverty, you know, UN Women being another kind of great organisation. Access to education for girls. Maybe you want to go and do something with one of your local schools. I'm sure all of you have got partnerships with local schools within the area of your offices, so you could do something around that as well. And funding female businesses was a big one last year, because, you know, maybe you do something, maybe it is a fundraiser that you could, you know, help a small business, female business owner. And even at some of your events, like what we do with some of our big conferences, if we're having a big event, we invite small business owners, small female business owners, to come in and sell their products. And like one of the ladies that comes to ours is a candle lady, and she makes more business on that day than she does the entire year. So just little things like that you can really do to open up other doors of opportunity for women. So they're just a couple of different ideas. And again, if there's any charity partners that you're thinking of, or a theme that fits in with your strategic business goals or anything like that you're not currently working with, please do come and talk to us, and we can point you in the right direction, because we work with numerous charities. Back to you, Birgit.
Yeah, and so, you know, one of the areas that we are thinking about, I think obviously everybody's aware of Vanessa's extensive focus on We Are Tech Women and all sort of tech topics. I would say we are extremely concerned, Vanessa, I think that's safe to say, about what we're seeing in terms of kind of slow rates of women engaging around AI and digital skills. And what that is going to mean in terms of the workforce moving forward. We know that the representation continues to be extremely low, and we're just not seeing the engagement level around this topic. We know how critical it is. So this is something that we are going to be focusing on. What we've put together here is a number of slides. We're not going to go through them all in detail, given how much time we have left. If this is a topic that you are interested in adopting, we've got content here around business case. We've also got event ideas, format ideas, you know, speaker topics, etc. If this is something you want to pick up, we've tried to make it as easy as possible for you to think about, you know, what the sort of conversations that you want to have across the business, and what else you could be talking about to look at advancing that, getting more women and other people in your organization engaged around this, and how we get more women into AI and digital roles moving forward. So lots of content here for you to have a look at in more detail in your own time. Again, this will all be in the slides, but will certainly be a huge focus for us moving into 2025. So just wanted to make sure that you're aware that that is all there.
And again, I mean, obviously, I'm always going to focus on tech because that's the other side of my world. But you know, that digital skills. We've been doing a lot of work to try to get women to pivot into tech and to just be more tech aware. I mean, in my opinion, we're all technologists. Take our tech away, we can't do our jobs. So it's a really important thing to kind of, you know, push those digital skills and make sure that we're ready for the future. You know, AI obviously is not going to come in and take everyone's jobs, but it will certainly change the future world of work. And I think we need to be able to, as women, be able to respond to some of that. So I'm going to open it up to the floor now and maybe pick out some of these comments that we've got in here. But has anyone got any questions or anything that you want to share or anything that you want to add to anything that Birgit and I have said? This is your meeting, so feel free to talk. Hi, Kua. You're up.
Everyone, hope you're doing well. In terms of, first and foremost, International Men's Day, what we've been doing where I work is we're looking to do kind of like a loose men's style panel, because when we do it like that, it's so light-hearted, and then we kind of send the invite across network streams. So we have Working Families, Asian Affinitive, Black Empowered Network, etc., and it brings them all in. And when we do the panel as well, we try to bring in men from every single one of those networks. So last year we had 9 men on the panel, and we thought, wow, that would be too much for an hour, but we literally framed it across screens. And then we decided to kind of have a prep call where we grouped some of the men together. So we did like 3, 3, 3. So then they each had a spotlight on them. And like, it was really light and fun for everyone watching, because they learned so much more about their colleagues. And there was times when there was a lot of laughter as well, because they were just like, wow, that's an interesting fact. Like, how long have I worked with you? And also they brought in so many aspects and layers to them, like for whether it's parental leave, carers, their mental health. And so it covered quite a bit of topics, but in a nice way. And they maneuvered from one era to another. So I feel like that's one thing to do as well. And even to also maybe do spotlights on men in the organization that have been great sponsors. So like it kind of highlights them for a day, and that kind of thing would be quite nice.
Fantastic. Thank you, Corinne. Kua's at LSEG. So anybody else? Sean?
Hiya. Yeah, I would just mention, I popped it in the chat. I didn't know if this was for anybody else as well. Obviously, being the gender network and wanting to include, you know, men, women, and those who are gender diverse or beyond the binary. And we've got obviously Trans Awareness Week that is occurring during Men's Health Month and around International Men's Day. So we're kind of bringing the Trans Awareness Week theme into our kind of month of celebrations, and we're hopefully looking to do a bit of a panel using the theme of positive male role models to identify some of our trans male role models in our business, and ensuring that they have a voice and a space within it, and that the gender network is representing our trans colleagues, as well as doing what we do for International Men's Day and doing what we do for International Women's Day, that those beyond the binary and gender diverse colleagues also feel like they're being represented as well. So I just wanted to mention that for anyone who might have not covered that. Or we're trying to do a bit of a collaboration with our Pride network, so it's a bit of a gender and pride coming together to celebrate Trans Awareness Week.
That's fantastic, Sean. But remind everyone what company you're from.
Motability Operations.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Anyone else? Anyone put their hand up? Any other questions on some of the stuff that we've already covered? Jan, you're on mute.
Hello. Hi, yeah, how you doing? All right.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, we're actually taking the whole month of November to focus on everything. So we've been looking at the different intersectionalities and what comes out of that. We're looking at generations as well, in terms of how we interact and what different things people require within the workplace. So we are doing the Movember piece, which they do every year. So we've just expanded it, and we've expanded it across EMEA. So we're not just going to do UK, we're bringing in all our EMEA countries as well. So it's a bit of a big event this year. but I'm sure there'll be quite a few lessons that we learn from there, and the different cultural aspects as well, that there are some things that we can talk about and some things we can't talk about, but we are encouraging people to lean into these difficult conversations because that's the way we learn. So we're very much looking forward to it.
And Jan, remind everyone where you're from.
Oh, so I'm from Fragomen, previously IBM.
Fantastic. Anybody else?
Got James as well.
James?
Yeah, Vanessa, the first time I've been on a call like this, so thank you very much. I've taken, I think, Sian, your idea about action next year. I love that. I think that's great. You can link that to everything. So it's great to get some shares from today as well. So really thought-provoking and really helpful. Andy's Man's Club, we're linking, I'm at Sainsbury's, and we're working alongside them. They've been fantastic and really very supportive about what do we want, really refreshing the way they've come across. But obviously I think that worked both ways because we've tried lots of different things over the years on both International Men's Day and International Women's Day. So really looking forward to working with them. And I'm working up in Scotland, and they're coming into the store to talk to some of my colleagues, which is fantastic. So no, just a big thank you, and I've pinched some great ideas, and we'll reach out to a few people as well, because I think the more we work together, it's a great idea. So thanks for today, much appreciated.
Thank you. Where are you from, James? Sorry if I missed it.
I'm working up in Prestwick in Scotland.
Right, for what company?
The Sainsbury's.
For
Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's. Sorry if I missed it. Fantastic. Anybody else got anything? I think we're up to time anyway. So obviously the first part of this call has been recorded, so we can send you the link if there was anything that you've missed. We'll send you the pack as well that we've put together. And then obviously we're here for any advice that you may wish to kind of ask us about, you know, whether it's charities, whether it's other ideas. One of the things that I would encourage you to do is invite each other, and we can do that for you. If you send the details through to Leona, you can invite each other to each other's events. You'll often find a number of you are each other's clients anyway, so that's always a great thing to do. So as I say, hopefully you've enjoyed that, and good luck with your International Men's Day events. We will see you for Gender Networks, for those of you who are attending. We've got some absolutely fab speakers. We're talking about employment law changes, which is a really, really big, important topic at the moment. I believe we've got Eleanor Mills talking about her organisation Noon, which is for women over 50, and also about her new book. And then we have Vivian Arts, who's from FTSE Leaders. So a really packed, great meeting next week. I believe it's next week. You should all have the invite. If you don't have, please flag it to Leona. But we look forward to seeing you there. Just one thing I want to say, just in terms of the chat, you know, Refuge have asked that we put something in our email signatures. I think it's on the chat. If I can just find it, we just put the helpline number in our signatures for International Women's Day. So again, that's a really small action that all of us can take. So thank you for that. And if anyone needs connecting with Refuge, obviously we're happy to do that, but they're part of this group anyway. Brilliant. Okay, well, I wish you the rest of a fantastic Thursday, and hopefully we'll see some of you next week. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Birgit.
Thanks all. Take care.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.